again, everybody. Lance Russell and Dave Brown right along ringside. By golly, we're about ready to go with more big action.
Thank you very much, and welcome to Georgia Championship Wrestling. I'm Gordon Soler, your host, and we have quite an hour in store for us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Championship Wrestling at ringside. This is Vince McMahon, along with wrestling's only living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Welcome to this week's edition of Mid-South Wrestling Television. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, another outstanding card.
Hey, guys, and welcome back to the Regional Rasslin Podcast, where we talk the territories. And this is episode 100 right here at the Regional Rasslin Podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening. And this week, we're going to do it up good, going to do it right, going to have a fun time as we bring back Gene Jackson onto the show to talk a little more Memphis 1985. Welcome back, Gene.
Hey, thanks for having me. And episode 100, that's fun. What an exciting time to be on the show. I'm honored to be here for the 100th episode of Regional Rasslin.
Oh, of course, happy to have you. Got to thank a lot of our past guests. You know, like, it all kicked off with John McAdam covering the late 70s WWF. Kerry Silken, former owner of Ring of Honor, stopped by. We've Roman Gomez, you know, for better or worse, a lot worse near the end of 1986 in the UWF. We covered that. Jamie Ward back for round 2 doing Georgia 82 after Georgia 81. And we've had a lot of people come and go and more projects on the horizon already. Got a lot of people hit me up wanting to cover some new projects. So I'm kind of working on those, seeing what we're going to dip into. But of course, Steve Crawford going on right now and Richard Vicek. Of course, St. Louis is getting ready to start up. And we're smack dab in the middle of 1985 Mempho, and another milestone in the books here for WrestleCopia and Regional Rasslin. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's just another number, Gene, because as you know, we got to move on to the next episode. It doesn't stop with 100. We got to keep going, so I can't really bask in the ambiance, so to speak.
No, it doesn't. Regional Rasslin doesn't quit moving, doesn't slow down, and I know that, like you said, there's a lot of different moving parts to the regional wrestling universe, if you will, but I'm excited to be a part of 1985 Memphis, and this one's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we've got a couple other shows we're going to be putting out here in the month of June for Regional Rasslin. I mentioned Steve Crawford. I mentioned Richard Vicek. Vandal Drummond going to be back before too long with more Los Angeles as well. Stick around for that, guys. But right now, we kick off another edition of the CWA Memphis Rasslin here back in 1985. And so thus, we must begin things where we always do, a recap of last week in the Memphis Territory. Jay Youngblood, former NWA World Tag Team Champion Jay Youngblood, arrived here in Memphis. And according to house show results, his brother Mark, a no-show. Remember, the Youngbloods were coming in together, or so we thought. Now, I figured last time out, we talked about it a little bit. I thought maybe Mark thought the wiser. Yeah, I'm not going to go down to that Memphis after all. But really, as I looked up where he did go, no result for Mark through the summer. So may have been injured. Not really sure what was going on with him.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's definitely odd. So maybe it was just more of a, for whatever reason, he couldn't do it more so than just he decided not to.
Yeah, he could have been there with his brother. That would have been an interesting little tag team here because, as many of you may already know, and some of you may not, Jay Youngblood, not long for the world here, going to pass away later in 1985. So kind of interesting to see him stop through Memphis, a guy who was touted as being one of the greatest of his era, certainly one of the greatest tag teams with Ricky Steamboat. And no offense to Memphis fans, but I mean, you come a long way when you come sliding down from NWA World Tag Team Champion with Ricky Steamboat down here to just trying to pick up some crumbs in Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis was a great place to be on your way up, and if you were an established guy at the top of the card, it could be beneficial. Mm-hmm. But a guy like Youngblood, like you say, who was on top of the world, to be back in Memphis, especially at this point in time, yeah, probably shows he doesn't have a lot of options, quite frankly.
Yeah, I believe they call them demons in the wrestling world. I do believe. But yeah. So Jay Youngblood is here. We're going to see him this week on TV. It's also safe to say that the pretty young Billy Travis has secured himself the Thing and is now the third member of the PYT, or at least so it seems.
What an odd choice, but so far it's working out for him. So remains to be seen how it plays out for Billy Travis, a part of the PYT.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was a Tom Ernesto call or somebody else maybe kind of threw that idea out there because like on paper, you say kind of an odd choice, but it seems to be working thus far.
Yeah, he seems to be having fun with it. And I don't know if this injury for Coco is just completely fabricated just as an excuse to bring Billy into it, or if he was slightly injured for a bit, or I don't really know the ins and outs of how this came about, but it's been interesting to watch.
Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting because we see Coco pop up in a couple of results in a few cities, but more often than not, he's just kind of sitting on the outside. So we'll see how this plays out as we continue on, as a mild-mannered Jerry Jarrett seeking revenge on the PYT after being handcuffed and whipped. Jarrett not alone, though, going to bring with him his old partner, the, as they call it, the Chinaman. Tojo Yamamoto going to be with Jerry here in the feud with the PYT.
Well, Tojo was still over in Memphis, but man, we had seen earlier in the year, when he was squaring off with Plowboy, Tojo was definitely on the downward slide of his career, so he definitely needed to be in a tag team. I don't know if Jerry Jarrett's at a place in life really to carry a team, but here they are, and I think, their past reputation and overness in the territory will be enough to carry them as long as we don't stick around too long.
Too long. Yeah, don't wear out your welcome, guys. Fabulous Ones, another great tag team in their prime right now. Once again, your Southern Tag Team Champions. At least that's the way it appears anyway.
Yeah, that's... As we recap last week, they were definitely the Southern Tag Team Champions, but stick around.
Stick around indeed. The Assassin, the Masked Man who took on Jerry Lawler last week, found out the hard way, you don't slap the king. The Assassin stepping in the ring. For those of you unaware, that's Tom Ernesto Jr., the son of Booker Tom Ernesto, the former, one of the original Assassins. He slapped the king, and didn't take too long for Lawler to put him down.
No, the assassin got assassinated when he slapped the king. Even if Daddy's the booker, it's not going to end well for you.
No, definitely not when the promoter is your opponent anyway.
That's right.
Well, as if we have to explain this by this point, but apparently no DQ doesn't always mean no DQ, at least in Memphis. And you guys are like, well, you got to narrow it down, Ray. I'm referencing the recent matchup, Jerry Lawler over Bruiser Brody by DQ in a no disqualification match.
I mean, only in Memphis can you book a no disqualification match and really in promos drive it home that this is a no disqualification match and there won't be any way to get disqualified. We're going to settle this and then book the match to end in a disqualification. I just boggles the mind, Ray.
Yeah, and again, going back to that matchup, the reason for the disqualification was outside interference from Kareem Muhammad, who helps Brody take Jerry Lawler out. Brody going to steal the crown of the king, or at least a similar crown he's going to wear here in an upcoming promo. But it was Kareem Muhammad's interference, and basically they just laid the king out. So really, I guess Lawler didn't want to do the job, and so he kind of booked the DQ back into there.
It's just, once you have booked a no DQ match, you got to find another way out, man. Yeah. A count out, just something. You how do you book a no DQ match that ended in a DQ? And especially considering, we've already went to a tag match because of Kareem Muhammad getting involved the first time around. Yeah. So you had to know this was from a kayfabe perspective, as a fan looks at it, that you had to know this was a possibility. So either, plan for a way to keep Kareem out of it, or I don't know, man. There's got to be a better way. But, Memphis booking often just absolutely counted on the fans being forgiven. And I guess, over the years they were pretty forgiving about some things. But then again, some of these stipulations they didn't deliver on, some hair matches over the years, some different things, they started getting a little tired of some of this shit eventually.
Well, there was a slow decline, certainly in the fan base, probably and likely due to things like this here. But for the time being, they're still drawing to, well, I guess fair degree compared to at least 1993 where you're at. And you talked about they have to find other ways out of things like this. And I feel like they're still stuck for an answer all the way up in 1993 where you're at on the retro review, going to be finishing up. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But yeah, so King over Brody by DQ in a no DQ match thanks to interference from Kareem Muhammad. More on that in the TV program. As we continue on, the once again Southern champion, Macho Man Randy Savage, last Monday night in the Coliseum stole another win over the former champion, Jerry Oski, and this time using a pair of brass knuckles to retain. As Savage said, by any means necessary, And that it was using the brass knuckles, once again, to retain the title over Mr. Oski.
hey, you do what you got to do, He's using a video of the War Machine song, so he will go to war, and if it means using brass knuckles, then, that's what it takes.
It is what it is.
However, not to interrupt you.
Yes.
But you would think when Jerry Oski couldn't put away Lanny Poffo, that it wouldn't necessarily require the Macho Man to use brass knucks, but not to get ahead of you there.
No.
I'm still. It's been a couple to 3 weeks since we recorded the last show, and I'm still a little peeved about that.
Yeah, you reference that matchup, and I have it here in my notes, in regards to Jerry Oski. I think Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop sang it best. It was the match that never ends. Yes, it went on and on, my friends. Talking about last week on TV, Jerry Oski battling Lanny Poffo. And I feel like somewhere in another dimension, this match is still going on, Gene, perhaps as a torture device. And as one of our listeners put it recently on Facebook, and I'm going to torture the way he worded it, but basically he said that match belonged in the back room of an old video tape rental store.
That's a fair assessment, but yeah, perhaps they have since picked this match back up in the afterlife somewhere and have continued on. But again, just really strange booking on their part in Memphis, where we book a no DQ match and end it in a DQ, and then we're like, hey, we're promoting this, this rematch with Savage and Oski. How can we really prime this thing? Well, let's let Oski just go and wrestle Poffo forever on TV and not be able to put him away, and then expect people to buy a ticket thinking there's a pretty good chance he might can beat the freaking Macho Man.
Well, see, questionable booking everywhere. We go on a couple more notes here. According to Tux Newman, Randy Hales, who was interviewing he in the PYT last week, Randy cannot pronounce the words PYT because he's prejudiced.
Well, Ray, there's a lot of, there's many words I can't pronounce, but it's not because I'm prejudiced. Well, one of them is prejudice that I can't pronounce, but I can PYT. So shut up.
You worked on that all week long. Good to hear, Randy. That's great. Speaking of prejudice, dear Lord, saving the best for last, guys, and by best I mean, wow, Kareem Muhammad takes over the Sunday morning Jerry Lawler show. Churchgoers returning home, popping on their TV sets to hear Kareem proclaim that Tojo Yamamoto better not get in the ring with him, or he may have flashbacks of Nam, and apparently shoot Tojo. I wrote here, holy fuck. And remember, guys, this was taped 24 hours in advance and still made air. Different times, Gene, different times.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was just a one-time lapse in judgment that it aired once. But as we'll see, somebody was proud of it, I believe, because it not only airs once, it airs multiple times in various forms. But if you never saw this stretch of Memphis and you only saw Kareem Muhammad, as the Zambu Express and Florida and Mid-South and different places he did it, you would have no idea the comedic chops of one Ray Candy.
No kidding.
My goodness, what a different side of him than we were used to seeing here. And somebody was really impressed with him because, man, we have got him just all over the mic on Memphis TV in this era right here. And it's fun. It's controversial. But like I said, somebody was definitely digging it to keep doing it, on various shows like he's doing.
Yeah, we're not seeing a whole lot of replays from the Jerry Lawler show here on TV, but that's what we're going to get this week in regards to Kareem Muhammad, and I'm here for it because there's even more parts of the segment that I got so lost in the things that he said last week when we were talking about it, last week in the territory, that there's some things I left out. I can't wait to get to that later here as we continue on to the program.
I was watching this episode last night preparing for this show, and my wife was in the room doing schoolwork. Just not really listening, but, it's on. And that segment with Ray Candy comes on. She goes, what did he say? I was like, whatever you think he said, that's exactly what he said. She's like, holy shit. I was like, well, it's 1985. She's like, still. I was like, yeah I know.
Show enough, guys, as we re-roll off now. Closing out the month of May this week, 1985, going back now to May 25th. for some more Saturday morning wrestling right there in WMC Channel 5 Studios. It's more of the CWA and Championship Wrestling. All right, it is indeed Lance and Dave right along ringside. Memorial Day weekend. And what do you know? They threw us off, Gene. After weeks of kicking off with action already in the ring, this week we start off at the desk. Lance and Dave out there. And this might be because, actually, for the first time, I believe, all year long, this is the Louisville feed. And I'm going to let you explain to everybody the difference between the Memphis feed and the feed that aired everywhere else.
Well, we've been learning those differences over on the USWA podcast in the recent weeks. So, in Memphis, you had a 90-minute live version of the show that, was promoting the card for Monday night in Memphis. And then you had a 60-minute version that went out to, Louisville, Evansville, the different towns in the territory. And different portions of the show, any reference to Memphis or Monday night, that kind of thing would be cut out of it. But some guys that come in, they would come to Memphis, but they wouldn't necessarily come to the other towns. Especially, like I say, in 93, you'd have Savage or somebody come in and do the Coliseum, but they wouldn't do the whole loop. So their segments would just be cut completely out of the show. You'd never see it. And some of these in the 80s aren't as bad, but I realized here lately when all we've had to watch is some of these like Louisville versions of the show. Some of the show just really doesn't even make sense. Some of it's just kind of out of context when you go taking out some of these segments of the show. So it's odd. Sometimes you'll see a segment where it's just Lance and Dave just talking in the studio and no one's there, and then it cuts to one where it's from the live show and you hear the studio audience in the background, and sometimes they show things out of order. It's bizarre, but it's the way they did TV for forever there. So
yeah, it's so we got the 90-minute live version, which is basically everything, and then like you said, the 60-minute syndicated version, which they cut a lot of shit out of, and so you really don't know what's intact. But here, luckily, we got the best of both worlds. I want to thank old Mr. Krieger for throwing this together. He took the Louisville feed and the Memphis feed and spliced them together here. What he did was he used the Louisville feed up front in the video for anybody who might have it or has seen it out there. And so we get about an hour of the 90-minute show in great quality, really. And then he went and he took all the parts of the Memphis version that was missing and he put it at the end of the video. And I thought, geez, Blair, why didn't you put it all together, make it make sense? But then I saw the quality of the Memphis version, which was basically rolling film. And it was very agitating, but I wanted, so what I did was I went back and I pieced it together properly. So we're going to discuss the show as it originally aired, but I do thank him now that he put that at the back end of the video, because wow, man, I couldn't have done that in and out. Great quality, shit quality, great quality, shit quality. So appreciate his work for getting both of them in there so that we have basically the whole show to still discuss.
Yeah, I wish there would have been, that option for the most recent 93 shows, because it's frustrating. And then we go over the card for Monday night and there's matches from people who weren't even on the show. So I have to go and look at the Observer and find out what happened on the live TV so that we can at least discuss it anyway. So
that's crazy. Yeah. You'd think, man, I mean, we got so much of this 1980s, live, the Memphis feed. You hope that someday somebody's going to pop up with some of that USWA stuff. Surely it's out there somewhere.
It has to be. So, somebody, recently sent me I got a hold of some more of I was missing some of the live versions from 94. I've got like the entire season from Evansville, but then I've got a majority of it from Memphis. So I plugged in about 4 or 5 more episodes of the live version for 94 whenever we circle back around to that for the retro show down the line. So I'm hoping it's going to buy me some time, and by the time we circle back to it, I'll have all of them filled in. And 91, kind of a mixed bag, but then 92 is pretty complete with Memphis versions of the show as well. So
love it. Some quite an enigma, that early 90s USWA stuff. Can't wait till we get to that over there on the Retro Review Show. Right now, guys, we'll come back to Memphis 85 as they kick off Lance and Dave here. We go to a little montage, a roll call of talent that's supposed to be on this week's program, I guess you could say. Clips of the fabulous ones, Hickerson, Phil Hickerson? And the Memphis spoiler, that's Frank Morrell. We see the Macho Man, Jerry Oski, the PYTs, Tojo and Jerry Jarrett whipping the PYTs. Jackie Fargo, going to be here this week? Have to wait and see what that's about. Kareem Muhammad, Bruiser Brody, Jerry Lawler, and Austin Idol? Now remember, they just throw to this video. They don't explain any of this, but they're kind of spoiling things because, okay, we see Jackie Fargo, Hickerson, Austin Idol, but no explanation whatsoever as to why they're in this video.
yeah, that was, I don't know, it was abrupt. Like I say, when you start watching the video and these people are popping up, I'm like, okay, well, they weren't on last week's show. How does this fit in? But, we get there eventually. But yeah, Memphis would do that. They would just play these random clips of things. And some of the clips is like old stuff. Some of the clips is, the
last week
tag team match with the Fabs from last week. So it's just all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was just if somebody was feeling frisky that day or something, like I felt like whenever they would put these on, because you didn't get these. This is the first time we've got it in 1985, so that's how often they would do this.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't expecting it to pop up because, like you said, we haven't dealt with it any so far, and here we are almost to June. But boom, here it comes out of nowhere.
Well, we get a quick promo right at the top here from Bruiser Brody, now wearing the crown of one Jerry Lawler. Brody stating that he who wears the crown is indeed the king. I wrote fun visual anyway, to see Brody in a crown.
Yeah, and this very extreme close-up of his face and the crown on his head. Very definitely illustrated his point, I guess.
Well, for the time being, it is Brody who could be called the king because he's the one that took Jerry Lawler out, although with the help of Kareem Muhammad, we get a replay, which really shocked me, of that Kareem Muhammad situation with Jarrett and Tojo from the Jerry Lawler show. So we talked about it, Jerry Lawler kind of stormed onto the set and tried to cool things as we ran out of time and the show ended on the Lawler show last week. But I had to listen in because they decided they were going to play it here on the Memphis show. And yep, they left everything in, all the unedited comments, guys. Tojo Yamamoto being referred to as being from Vietnam and basically being threatened to be killed, I guess, if Kareem gets in the ring, has the flashbacks, and Tojo says something like, "You don't call me Vietnam, you call me Tojo Imperial Yamamoto." So I had to pop for that. Just fun back and forth between those two.
Yeah, that's the part that got my wife because he's, there's Kareem sitting there in his camo and he's like, "Man, seeing you and seeing what I got on reminded me of being in Vietnam." And I'm like, and it just goes on from there. And it's like, wow. But,
well, Tojo corrects him. He's not Vietnamese. He's Japanese. Kareem responds, "Y'all look alike."
Yeah, like nobody else on the Memphis roster, probably besides Kareem Muhammad, could have got away with saying that.
Absolutely. Not even Dr. D, because, well, he's not here anymore.
He could have told Tojo he had, like, AIDS or something, but couldn't have said that.
No, couldn't got away with that. And lost in all of that last week, and I feel so bad about this because it made me pop when he did it. I forgot to mention, when they kicked Jerry, Jarrett, and Tojo off the set, Kareem says he's going to keep their gift certificates to TGI Friday to eat for himself. And you got to love that.
Yes, because we've had so much fun with the TGI Fridays gift certificates. The fact that Kareem Muhammad makes it a point to bring those up was awesome.
He's been waiting for a chance to get one of those things. Now he's got two. And based on his size, he might need 3 or 4. But that's okay because Kareem stepping into the studios, joining Lance Russell, going to put himself over, but it's not his interview time, says Lancer. It's matchmaker Tom Ernesto's time. Russell tries politely to dismiss Kareem, but Muhammad takes the microphone away, says he looks forward to interviewing Ernesto himself. So clearly, this whole hosting gig has went to his head.
Yes. Like I said, I thought maybe that was just an odd one-off for the Jerry Lawler show, but like I say, apparently he won somebody over. They liked it because we're just going right into it here on TV, on the regular TV show.
Give this guy a mic and let him go. I mean, did they let him go? So, well, obviously, like you pointed out, they must have liked what they saw on the Lawler Show, and now they're going to let Ray Candy, a.k.a. Kareem Muhammad, do a little more today as he is continuing to show tons of charisma. The crowd even laughing at some of these jokes. So it's I don't want to say it's backfiring, but clearly it's over. Obviously someone was popping the reason they're even giving him this mic time to begin with. So it's, I'd say success so far. As Tom Ernesto going to join the interview, Tom says he didn't come out here to be interviewed by Muhammad, so he takes the mic for himself. And for better or worse, the AWA is the ones who control this area. And the fabulous ones, well, they defeated the PYT for the Southern Tag Team titles. We talked about that last week. However, Coco Ware was out with a shoulder injury, and so Billy Travis replaced him in the matchup, teaming with Norvell Austin. Tux and company then went to the championship committee and appealed the decision, citing Travis as an unsanctioned champion. And thus, when he lost the match, the title should have never been on the line. So, Ernesto reluctantly returns the titles here to the PYT. Kareem shouting comments from behind all the while, too. That's the best part. He's just shouting behind them the entire time. Tell it, and it's great stuff there, Kareem Muhammad. But basically, the story here is the AWA and that damn Tux Newman and all his Hollywood lawyers, they have done away with the Fabs as the champions, and the PYTs get the belts back.
Yeah, well, that AWA championship committee made some very questionable calls over the years, especially on the Memphis end of things.
They sure did, didn't they? They even deemed Nick Bockwinkel was champion when Rick Martel was. I mean, they did some really strange things.
Yeah, they just straight up made the AWA championship committee almost the heels of Memphis. And this certainly was an instance where they certainly weren't getting the AWA over with anybody, having them hand the belts back over to the PYT. But at the same time, there's a little bit of logic there, and it kind of makes sense. But then again, it's like, all right, well, why wasn't this addressed when the match started and, all that? But, hey, it's a good way to give everybody the win they wanted, put the belts on the Fabs, but now the Fabs don't have to get beaten to get the belts taken off of them and put back on the PYT and puts heat on Tuss. It's, it works. I'm not mad at it.
Well, the only thing that really sticks out to me, and again, the storyline with, well, Travis wasn't really the legal man, yada, yada. I get all that, and I'm fine with that if that's the way they wanted to tell the story. But remember, it was 2 weeks ago that the Fabs won the titles. It took them 2 weeks to return the belts or even mention that this was being petitioned. So clearly, they had all of last week on TV to mention this petition, and they didn't. So this is clearly a last-minute decision to give the belts back to the PYT, as I'm sure Stan Lane said, no, sir, we're not jobbing to those guys this week. And so that's what we get now is the belts returned in this fashion.
Exactly. That's clearly that wasn't the plan going in. I guess it was just a happy accident maybe. But, last week the Fabs took on Kareem and his mystery partner.
That's right.
And, boy, looking at that clip, that has to be the biggest Don Bass has ever been in his life.
I'm telling you, that's why I didn't think it was him.
My wife said, I didn't know King Kong Bundy ever wore a mask. I'm like, that's not King Kong Bundy. I was like, that's Don Bass. She's like, he wasn't ever that big. I'm like, there he is.
Well, that was true. And we saw him in the studio as well. And that matchup actually exists as well. So the one from the Coliseum, which is why, I believe I posted it on my YouTube. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong there. Go check it out and look and see if I've got it up there. But as we learned that the titles have been returned to the PYT, Lance Russell ready to take a commercial break. But Kareem, he ain't ready for it. Instead, inviting Tux and the PYT out to celebrate. And out comes Tux Newman and the once again Southern Tag Team Champions, the PYT Express Coco Ware Norvell Austin. More slurs from Tux Newman and Kareem towards Tojo Yamamoto, not just using the Chinaman name either, guys. The PYT are the champs once again, and they want to end the tag team of Tojo Yamamoto and Jerry Jarrett, and they want to do it right now. Lance Russell points out, can you see the director over there giving you the signal for a break, Kareem? If you want to be in show business, you need to learn the signs, for fuck's sakes.
He might not have said it, but it certainly was implied with his tone, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lance being a program director in the past and things of that nature, he understands time and going to commercial and what you got to do and when you got to get it in. And clearly the signal was going on for some time there. And yeah, Lance didn't seem super happy about it, but he wasn't like Gordon Soley mad, levels of mad. So that's cool.
That's true. Lance is able to contain himself and stay professional. But, yeah, Ray Candy is just out of control right out of the gate here. He's taking over the interview. He's talking over Lance. He won't let us go to break. He's just inviting people out here of his own accord. It's a wild scene for Memphis Rasslin.
And I don't know that much of this, and certainly nothing he actually says, was planned moving into this whole situation here. So it's even more fun to see they just kind of give him the mic and tell him to go out there and do his thing. So that was a fun segment. And after the break, well, I'll be damned, Kareem Muhammad's still there. Lance going to have some fun with him here, though, because, well, I'm still glad you're here, Kareem, because they have a video queued up from Monday night. Going back to when the Fabulous Ones were still the tag team champions, they defeat the team of Muhammad and that mystery man you talked about, Don Bass. Of course, Kareem here naturally going to blame the big, fat, out-of-shape partner. He says, no hard feelings to Tux, who picked his partner, but next time, Kareem going to just go into a tag team match alone. And believe me, guys, the way Ray Candy put this out there, it's not lost, the irony is not lost on him calling his partner big, fat, and out of shape. He was essentially trying to mock himself at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was definitely done on purpose. And this is just the Ray Candy show. I mean, as you're about to point out what happens next, I was just like, what? Was he going to go grab the camera and run the camera next? Like, he's doing it all.
Well, we saw him in the intro. We saw him do commentary in the opening match. He did the interview there with the PYT and Tux. I mean, he's really running the program at this point. So, as Dave Brown about to introduce the upcoming matchup, Kareem going to take the mic, and he's going to do that too. Ring introductions here by Kareem Muhammad. As I wrote, man, this is getting really good. As he introduces the returning, as he calls him, the legendary Phil Hickerson, and the spoiler, Frank Morrell out there under the hood. Their opponents, and I quote, two local Memphis punks. That's Tracy Smothers and David Haskins. Now, Lance going to point out on commentary, Tracy's from Springfield, not Memphis. Didn't say he wasn't a punk, just said he wasn't from Memphis.
That's true. That's the only portion of that announcement that Lance corrected. I wonder if that was lost on Tracy.
Oh, man. So referee here going to be Tom Branch, not Jerry Calhoun. So keep an eye on that guy moving forward, guys. Tom Branch is the assassin from last week, the son of Tom Ernesto. Kareem Muhammad even working commentary again, taking Dave Brown's spot. So Dave not even on commentary at this point. And Muhammad even going to get a little corner circle. They do in the WWF, those insert promos. It's like the live insert commentary. So we have to watch Kareem do commentary. So I guess you could say, much like our video cast, he's doing his own watch along.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And it's like, all right, if you weren't aware that we are definitely making sure this is all about Kareem Muhammad, they're going to put his face on the screen too. So you remember that's who you're hearing over there. So nothing subtle about the push of Kareem Muhammad right now.
He may have created the video cast, the watch along, because he got it, right? He was even adding in the commentary. Tracy Smothers wiped out first. Phil Hickerson looking good in there for somebody who's been away a while. Nasty, I wrote sack of shit slam. Now, I don't mean the Scott Hall fall away slam. It's called the sack of shit slam. But this was like he picked David Haskins up and just slammed him down like you were trying to rip open a bag of something. I mean, just tear it into Haskins here, who tries to give it a go, tries to make the comeback, but runs into a Hickerson knee from the apron. And then, well, Phil going to go to the top rope. Uh-oh, what's he doing up there? I wrote leg drop, ? And fuck. I don't know what that was. It didn't look good, but it was 2 minutes and 5 seconds there. Going to give the Hickerson spoiler team the win.
Hickerson, he's getting up in age even by 85, and he can move, he can get around, he can get up in the air, but yeah, I don't know what the hell that was there at the end, but there you see, the spoiler, his mask, just a head sitting on a torso. He has no neck to speak of whatsoever. Like, that mask is just clinging onto his head for dear life.
Good old Frank Morrell, one of Jamie's favorites. Jamie Ward, shout out there. Retired from the United States Postal Service. We appreciate your years of employment there, delivering the mail hopefully on time, at least in the Philadelphia area. Not so much over here, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, so you go back, and out of nowhere, we haven't seen Hickerson. We haven't seen Frank Morrell, and now both guys are here this week. Curious to see if they stick around or if Hickerson's just visiting some people in town.
Yeah, when they showed that clip at the beginning, I was like, what? We even seen or heard of these guys in You know, it was like, are they just going to pop up at the Coliseum? But there they were in the studio, so
No kidding, yeah.
They're here. We'll see how long, but.
And of course, Kareem continuing to have all the fun here, slapping hands with the winners, giving the heels high fives on the way out of the studio as we continue on. Up next here, another interview. It's Jerry Oski, and he comes out carrying a coal miner's glove on his hand. Kareem Muhammad, again, going to conduct the interview, mocking Oski's name, of course, the ski, and asking for the glove. And the Oski, the idiot that he is, gives Kareem the coal miner's glove. As Muhammad says, Randy Savage going to punch his head off after the Macho Man, and I quote, hops around like a monkey and grabs the glove during the upcoming, well, I guess there's a coal miner's glove match this Monday night at the Coliseum, Gene.
Apparently so. And so that to me was interesting to see that they let Kareem interview Oski, because usually they try to keep the baby faces and the heels apart, even in scenarios like this. And like you said, Oski looks like a complete goof, just handing over the coal miner's glove to Kareem. And of course, Kareem, true to form, make sure to throw some ethnic slurs Jerry Oski's way so he doesn't feel left out.
Got
plenty for everybody.
That's why you got to keep Oski included. It's all about inclusion these days, guys. Kareem Muhammad was doing it all the way back 40 years ago as he calls Jerry Oski, and I quote, a Polak punk. Oski responds, a Polak yes, a punk no.
Well, you almost got to respect the honesty there, I guess.
Jerry's big comeback line, too, referring to Kareem, get this, guys, as Albert. And I didn't even get it until today when we're recording, Gene, and I watched this a couple weeks ago. I said, Fat Albert? I don't know why I didn't put it together then. I guess that's what he was referencing. Would be, considering Kareem's size, Fat Albert. Hey, 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 you know, Bill Cosby and all that good stuff, but he doesn't even call him Fat Albert, just calls him Albert. So it got lost on the fans, and apparently it got lost on me the first time around.
The only decent line he would have ever delivered on the mic would have been if he would have said Fat Albert. And like you said, even if he'd have done a little voice there like you just did, but even if he'd just threw the word fat in there so that everybody would have got it, it would have been like, all right, that's the best thing we've heard out of Oski. But no, he botches it and just says freaking Albert. And I don't know, maybe he was scared to call Kareem fat to his face. I don't know. But
it's possible.
Yeah,
he calls him Albert twice, like he's really slamming him here. And I didn't put two and two together until today. I guess I didn't really think about it again until today. It is a Jerry Oski promo after all. As Jerry then turns and asks the people if they think he has a chance against the Macho Man, to which one fan shouts, no! Damn, man, this guy can't freaking win.
Oh, that was a strategic, strategic move to try to ask a live studio audience, do I have a chance against the Macho Man? Like, come on, man.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Jerry Oski, well, he's 0 for 1 so far this week, but now he steps in the ring, going to team up with Jay Youngblood, tag team action, likely supposed to be Jay and Mark out here, but it's Oski and Jay Youngblood taking on Tommy Gilbert and Big Lou Winston. And Dave Brown with the intros this time, but Kareem making it clear he's not going anywhere as he watches the old greasy Indian and the Polak team up. His words, not mine, guys.
Again, everyone's included. Don't worry, Jay.
I'm not really sure I've heard Indians or Native Americans being referred to as old or greasy at the very before, but he is trying here. He's trying to keep everybody involved. That's for sure. As Kareem Muhammad, as Jerry Oski counters a Big Lou headlock with a nice back suplex early on. Jay Youngblood tagging in on the warpath, if you will, chops and quick moving action, and the signature diving elbow drop jumping across the body of Winston. Youngblood makes the cover, and this is where it really gets good. So he makes the cover after his, well, we'll call it his finisher. Tommy Gilbert comes in to make the save, but knowing this is the finish, he waits for Oski to cut him off. Instead, as Youngblood's making the cover, Oski drops off the fucking apron. Gilbert, rushing up to the cover, realizes Oski nowhere in sight, and he has to inexplicably just back up and let the pinfall happen right in front of his face. I wrote, what in the fuck? Jerry Oski clearly in a different world this week.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm surprised a veteran like Tommy Gilbert didn't just go ahead and kick Jay Youngblood in the fucking head just because of Jerry Oski screwing up. But, yeah, kudos for not throwing, because I'm sure that would have threw everything into a tailspin. But, my God, he just runs up there and just has to just stop and then watch Lou Winston get pinned. I was like, God, Oski, like, God, dude, like, he gets worse every week. He's just like
Constance and Ashley,
he just regresses each and every week. It's sad to watch.
Yeah, well, that fiasco with Lanny Poffo. Now, this only goes 3 minutes and 48 seconds, but I've never seen something like that where the other babyface drops off the apron. He wasn't turning heel. He wasn't walking away from his partner. I'm not really sure what the hell he was doing, but he drops down off the apron as if the match is already over. Meanwhile, Tommy Gilbert's waiting for him he wants to get cut off in the ring, and there's nobody to cut him off. And I'm with you. Tommy's such a seasoned veteran. You would think, I'm not going to be the one looking like an asshole here. You kick Jay in the head or something. But I think at this point, it feels to me anyway, Tommy Gilbert's checked out.
Yeah. I'm sure that's why he's like, what's the fucking point? Just leave it be. I'd like to think, though, that he probably went back there and cussed Oski in the back.
I certainly hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
He owed it to him, not as like revenge or something, but just like to teach this guy, like, what is wrong with you? Like, this is fucking TV too. Like, now we just all look like assholes on TV because you're a goof and jumped off the apron before the match was over.
Hey everybody, Gene Jackson here, inviting you to check out the Retro Wrestling Review, where each week I'm joined by some great co-hosts who help me review classic episodes of USWA Championship Wrestling, and right now we are doing week-by-week reviews of 1993. But we don't just do reviews, sometimes we get a chance to interview some of the people who were there and lived it, plus do watch-alongs. It's a lot of fun, so check out new episodes that drop every Wednesday at WrestleCopia.com, and to find links to everything associated to the podcast, you can go to USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Rasslin podcast, where we talk the territories. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. But that's not all. You can also check out the Puro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Puro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. And of course, now would be a fantastic time to become a WrestleCopia patron over at Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. That address again, Patreon.com/WrestleCopia, where you get so many gifts, including all of my insanely detailed show notes for every episode of The Grenade Show, Regional Rasslin, and the Monday Warfare podcast. You'll also get early access to a lot of the podcasts here on the WrestleCopia brand, where you can listen days and sometimes as much as a week earlier than the rest of the listeners. But that's still not all, guys. You also get at least a dozen digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure each and every month, plus random bonus video drops, and of course, the Patreon exclusive watch-along series covering many past WWF and WCW events. And if that's not all, videocasts, also now a part of Patreon. No subscription, cancel anytime. Give it a try for a month, guys. I think you'll like the content that I offer, and every penny of it goes right back here into paying the bills. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia. Help me pay some of the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and all of the great shows here up and running for the months and the years to come.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
Well, we've seen the Greasy Indian, we've seen the Polak Punk, and now Kareem Muhammad, you talked about interviewing baby faces. He brings out Jerry Jarrett and what he refers to as, once again, the chink Tojo Yamamoto out here for an interview. They're going to allow Kareem to interview these guys again after it was such a smashing success on the Lawler Show, it would seem.
Yeah, it's, earlier in the show when Kareem, it's like Tux wasn't going to say it, but then when Kareem suggested he was, calling Chink,
right.
Tux jumped right on it. He goes, yeah, that Chink. Like it gave him carte blanche.
Yeah, it's like,
say it.
You say it first, and then, I'll just, then it won't be as bad. So Muhammad, he thinks that they're cowards, Jarrett and Tojo, afraid of the PYT because they won't give them a matchup. He tells Tojo to go back to Vietnam one more time. Meanwhile, the subdued Jerry Jarrett says they will meet the PYT. They will do it this Monday night. And since Tux likes to interfere in matchups, well, Jarrett and Tojo not coming along, they're bringing with them the fabulous Jackie Fargo to counteract the interference or potential interference. Jackie Fargo going to play the corner man to Jarrett and Tojo this Monday night. And then we go off to a VTR, an interview once again from home from the fabulous Jackie Fargo himself from his desk chair this week. I guess his couch was being fumigated or something like that. Fargo putting over the... probably did. Fargo puts over the Fabs, and of course Jerry Lawler is his boys. But there are two men that are like brothers to him. That's Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto. He traveled up and down the roads with those guys for years. Fargo saw what was going on here and blames Tux Newman for the attacks on Tojo and Jerry. Tux doesn't belong in Fargo's business, the wrestling business. Jackie going to be in Memphis Monday night. And if Tux gets involved, Fargo going to take care of him.
So this is the second time Jackie's come back to be in the corner that it got spoiled earlier in the show. A couple of weeks ago, Coco blew it in a promo before they announced that he was going to be there. And then here they show that clip that was edited in, I'm sure, after the fact that mentions Jackie Fargo before they announce it. So you just can't surprise people with Jackie Fargo these days, damn it.
No, just can't do it. And I feel like Coco, they could, Coco, we didn't announce it. Oh, okay. Could have did a little Mike Sharp of his own. My bad. Oh, yeah. You can't see it right now, guys, but I'm doing that little Coco with the arm little swing thing with the parrot and horse shit and all that good stuff. All right. So we continue on, and we saw them out here for an interview, and I can't believe it, but Jerry Jarrett going to wrestle on TV this week, team with Tojo in the ring to take on Billy Travis and Ron Sexton. What the fuck happened to the PYT? Billy Travis out here with Ron Sexton? Well, it's Memphis, guys. Stay tuned. Lance Russell mentions that Billy Travis is part of the PYT, but then I notice, well, there's no PYT. There's no tux, no leather jacket, no Billy Travis robe, no sunglasses, and most importantly, no thing on his hand. They don't even sell it like Jerry Jarrett wants revenge here on Billy, who whipped him too. Just really, really weird.
Yeah, it's like he got demoted back to Billy Travis enhancement talent all at once. And, the whole crux of the promo earlier of switching the belt back to the PYT to start with,
right,
all revolved around Billy Travis. And now he's out here and we're just kind of ignoring that. It's just very, very odd.
They spent all that time building him up, giving that promo in the parking lot, wherever that was, when he found the thing and he got the leather jacket and he became officially one of the PYTs. That was like 2 weeks ago. And now here we are. He's out here with Ron Sexton. So we'll have to see what happens here. I guess Jerry Jarrett, as he works TV now, we're going to see if he still got what it takes in the ring as he controls both opponents early on. Tojo going to do his damnedest to stand on the apron for several minutes. Not that I'm complaining. Jerry going to work an armbar on Travis as Tux and the PYT finally make their way out. I thought maybe they were coming to help out Billy Joe, but instead they have a conversation with Travis and Sexton. And after about 3.5 minutes of one match, it looks like the PYT are replacing Billy Joe and Sexton mid-match. So, well, that's new. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had to look down when I was watching this. I got a text and I looked down to respond to it. And I look back up, and all of a sudden the PYT's in the ring. I'm like, what was there a cut or something? So I rewind the video back and then seen what happened. But I just 1 minute Billy Travis and Ron Sexton's there. I looked down at my phone. I responded to the text. I looked back up, and now all of a sudden Coco and Norvell's in there. I'm like, what the hell happened?
Again, very peculiar because Billy Travis, being one of the PYT, or so we thought, he should have known this was coming, right? I mean, they could have had this conversation with him at any point in time, but instead they treat him, like you said, just like some other random guy on the roster at this point. Like he's not even involved, and even weirder, he leaves ringside with Sexton, so he doesn't even stick around for his PYT buddies. So we do have a new matchup, it appears, though. Jarrett and Tojo now wrestling Coco Ware and Norvell Austin. Really weird for Billy. The treatment's just really odd after spending the last several weeks trying to put him over. I don't, and it was working. I thought it was working.
Yeah, I do too. And they had that, like you said, that parking lot promo that lasted almost as long as the Jerry Oski Lanny Poffo match. It felt like it was a lot of time invested so far in this to just abruptly drop it. So I don't know, but that's Memphis. People get a whim and somebody hears Ray Candy tell a joke in the locker room, and now he's all over the mic for 2 weeks. And Billy Travis probably talked to somebody's girlfriend or something, and now he's on the outs. So you just never know.
So, new match here, PYTs against Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto. The heels begin to beat the crap out of Jarrett in the ring. Lance Russell mentioning Coco's miraculous recovery from that shoulder injury. Alleged shoulder injury, mind you guys. Now, you said Jarrett got over by selling. You were talking about that in the last episode. Well, he has several minutes to excel at that here as they beat the crap out of him. A lot of quick tags by the heels as they are once again the tag team champions, let us not forget, keeping Jarrett on the mat. Now, finally, Jerry able to make the hot tag out to Tojo Yamamoto, who goes chop crazy on the PYT for about 10 seconds before he tags back to Jarrett. What a hot tag there, Tojo. Way to come in and get things done. Tucks Newman up into the ring as well. Meanwhile, Jarrett comes back, tags back in, lands the Thez press on Coco, but with the referee's back turn, it's Norvell blasting Jarrett with the Tux's cane, and the PYT stealing the win there, taking the pinfall in another 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So total between the two matches, we get about 7 minutes of Jarrett and about 10 seconds of Tojo.
And that's about all Tojo had these days. That's all I could think. It's funny you mentioned that. That's all I could think watching this match was, all right, so Jarrett's going to sell through this whole thing, but is Tojo going to be able to deliver on the hot tag? And the answer was no, he cannot.
The only reason Jarrett made a tag was because we needed the hot tag, and then Jarrett right back in a few seconds later. And when I said he went chop crazy, I mean he threw like 2 chops, by the way. And then Jarrett's back in there, and we get the finish. They steal the win, do the PYTs, but they're not done yet. They begin whipping Jarrett with the belt, this time in the TV studio. Kareem Muhammad loving all of this on commentary. Yes, he's still out there, guys. Finally, though, Yamamoto returning to the ring. Not really sure what he was doing outside, but back in the ring to make the save as Jarrett gets hold of the belt himself, begins whipping Norvell Austin all around ringside. Fun little spot there as it looks like, gets some semblance of revenge by Jarrett finally getting hold of the belt.
Yeah, I thought they were going to just be on the complete shit end of this, but he did get a little bit of comeuppance there and chased him around, got some licks in with him. He got hung up around the corner of the ring over there, and he got some pretty good licks in on that one side of the ring, right in front of the fans. And of course, got to lay it in front of the fans, brother. So that was a couple of rough ones for him. But
yeah, Norvell bailed on the wrong side. That's what happened.
Yes, yes, and he paid for it. Learned a valuable lesson that day.
Certainly did. As we continue on, we go back to the ring. More action. This time, the King out here. Jerry Lawler taking on good buddy Jerry Bryant. King having a little fun this morning, even busting out the old Fargo strut as he gets things going. But Jerry Bryant going to strut right back. I like that. But he gets a kick in the ass from Lawler, so Lawler does the strut. Bryant going to mock him. And as he's doing it, Lawler walks over and just kicks him right in the rear.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So Jerry Lawler, I think it was the last episode we saw where Lawler got attacked by Big Lou Winston and then just ended up squashing him. And now the other half of the future Memphis Vice, Jerry Bryant's in here against Lawler. We'll see if he fares any better than his partner did.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. Lou Winston attacked him, and he had a couple of great shots, and then Lawler just took that one home. Last week, Lawler gets slapped in the face by the assassin, and we saw the way that played out. So let's see what happens here, because Brian, all he did was mock the King. So he does manage to get Lawler back into a corner, work him over for a couple seconds, firing himself up, Getting himself going is Jerry Bryant. Finally, though, the King, he decides he has enough, drops the strap, throws his own series of punches, as only the King can do, before the fist drop. Not even going to go up the ropes, just drop the fist, going to get the win. 4 minutes and 14 seconds, which is about 4 times longer than any other Lawler match here on TV.
Yeah, exactly right. And I thought it was fun. You know, he didn't come out to any of that royal music that the King's known for over the years. He didn't, come out to like the Rocky theme or anything. He come out to Jump by Van Halen, which I thought was an interesting choice for the King.
Good catch there. I didn't even put that in my notes, but I do remember hearing that. And quite interesting. Jerry Lawler, whatever he was feeling that day, I think whatever he heard last in the car on the way to the studio. And he's like, that's what I'm going to do today. We're going to roll with that. So Jerry Lawler picking up a pretty relatively easy win here over Bryant, as we're going to hear from the King now, who is simply sick of hearing Kareem Muhammad's mouth here today. As it's the King's time to talk, he tells the Jelly Belly to lay down and roll on out of here. See, now Jerry Lawler can match mouths with Kareem Muhammad. But Muhammad, however, decides, he's going to stay, and he's going to interview the King as well. He calls Lawler a cheating coward. And as the King, he says he's heard enough, and he walks off in disgust. And I wrote here in my notes, I've never seen Jerry Lawler short on words. Something tells me, Gene, he'll be back.
Yeah, that struck me as odd, too. It's like, well, okay, Lawler's just going to walk away, huh? Like, man, we are really putting Kareem over strong on this microphone. But stick around.
Yeah, stay tuned, guys. So basically what happens there is Lawler says, I don't need you out here. You need to leave. I've heard enough of you. This is my interview time. And Kareem says, nah, I'm just going to stay right here. And Lawler leaves. And that was really peculiar. As we go off to a music video featuring Jerry Lawler and Austin Idol to Manfred Mann's Demolition Man. And I wasn't familiar with that song. So actually that was what Google told me, by the way. I'm not sure. Are you a Manfred Mann kind of guy, Gene?
I'm not, but he did go to that song in various videos over the year. And as in fact, in 93, he had just put a video of him throwing fireballs right before, I think is the week he threw one at Luger or somebody. And he did a video of him throwing fireballs set to that song. So that was one of his go-to songs back then.
Okay. I'm glad you caught that. That's another piece of knowledge I get to add to my book of knowledge. So basically what we have now is Kareem ran Jerry Lawler off. We get a music video, though, of Lawler and Idol, which leads me to believe that there's something going on with Austin Idol. We still don't know exactly what it is, as Kareem mocking Jerry Lawler all throughout that we just saw with Jerry Bryant. The King going to return, though, and he returns with a big piece of plywood. I told you he'd be back, giving Muhammad one last chance to leave on his own. You can leave the studio on your own, or shit's going to go down. Now, Kareem doesn't take the King seriously, laughs it off, even puts his feet up on the desk. He's not budging. So Jerry Lawler simply calmly walks over, and breaks the wood over the head of Muhammad, sending him out of his chair. I wrote, LOL, awesome. The entire thing. Lawler just walks over like casually, breaks the plywood over Muhammad's head, and Ray Candy takes this awesome bump backwards in the chair. Just great stuff.
Yes, it was very, very well executed. To me, the only odd thing about it was the lead into this on the Evansville show, or the Louisville show. They introduced it as like an outtake.
Yes.
And compare it to the bloopers and practical joke show that were popular on TV in '85, which I thought was a really weird way to introduce that segment. I mean, I know it didn't come off that way on the live version, but for the way they introduced it on there, like I say, they presented it as like an outtake, like, well, you weren't supposed to see this, but take a look. And he comes out there and just busts that board over Kareem Muhammad's head. But I don't know. That was a strange way to introduce that on the tape show, I thought.
Yeah, it really confused me until we got the Memphis feed of it, too, and then I could put everything together properly. But, yeah, they kind of mentioned it like it was like an extracurricular added segment to the show that wasn't supposed to make air, and they were doing us a favor by allowing us to watch it. But I don't know, maybe because some of the other segments like you talked about in the USWA were missing and they knew it wouldn't make sense. I don't really know.
Yeah,
because that tag match was not coming to the other cities, so that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, once I saw the rest, I was like, oh, okay, that was their way of shoehorning that in there without anything in the middle. But still, just the fact they compared it to like a blooper show, I thought that was a funny way to get to it. But
yeah,
anyway, great segment there. Lawler, like you said, was just so casually strolls out there, is busted over his head. He takes the big bump out of the chair. It was great.
Yeah, the bump was awesome, and everything's been great with Kareem Muhammad at this point. I don't know if we're going to see the last of him or not. We'll have to stay tuned to that. But basically, at this point, we learned that there's a big tag team matchup scheduled for Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum. It's going to see Bruiser Brody and Kareem Muhammad team up to take on Jerry the King Lawler and Austin Idol, darlin, the Universal Heartthrob himself. We go off to a VTR of Austin, standing on the dock by a boat, looking ready for a day on the lake or ocean, it may be, holding a banana and a microphone. What the fuck was going on with that?
I don't know. I'm afraid to even guess what that was supposed to insinuate.
Yeah.
All the stuff that's been said lately on the show. But anyway, we're getting the greatest hits of Jerry Lawler's partners. Brody and Kareem Muhammad took on Lawler and Dundee, and now they're going to take on Lawler and Idol. So.
Yeah, bringing all the hits back, and Jerry Lawler not missing a beat here. He brings in, it looks like the Universal Heartthrob is coming. We get a promo here, and Lawler going to sell the microphone and banana as a banana-shaped microphone. So I think we can kind of see what the implication was supposed to be from Idol, and Jerry Lawler trying to play it off. I got to get me one of those banana-shaped microphones, says the King, by the way, when we get there in a little while. But Austin says he's going to leave all the luxury behind, leave the boating, leave the swimming, leave all the good times behind, come back Monday night, going to do Jerry Lawler a favor. And he loves Memphis anyway. So Idol coming back to town to team with the King against Brody and Muhammad. And when they're all done, Austin says Jerry Lawler's going to owe him a favor.
Well, that sounds similar to something we've heard in recent times on wrestling, so we'll be interested to see how that plays out.
Jerry Lawler, you're going to owe me a favor, darling. And I can't wait to see what that may be and if it plays out the way I think it is. We go on, we talked about it earlier, we see it again here, the VTR of Bruiser Brody with the crown on his head. He who wears the crown is the king. So at this point in time, Brody believes he is the king of all professional wrestling. We'll see if Lawler can get that crown back Monday night. As an angry Kareem Muhammad going to return to the TV studio with the broken board in his hand. That was my favorite part because it reminded me of what happened. But he's calling out that gutless yellow dog, that no good Jerry Lawler. The King embarrassed him because people are writing in begging Kareem to take his talk show over. King, he may not have signed his death certificate, but he's come mighty damn close here. Kareem going to turn on Brody if he don't let Muhammad get to the King on Monday night. So now Kareem Muhammad wants at Jerry Lawler in a bad way.
What a couple of odd lines. He may not have signed his death certificate, but he's come damn close, and I'll turn on my partner if he don't let me get the King. Like, what?
It's like you're out here saying these things about Tojo and Oski and Youngblood and, things of that nature, but you don't want to say that you're going to, somebody sign their death certificate, but you come mighty damn close. Really, really peculiar.
Yeah. And then putting, because a lot of fans read a lot into promos, and then you're putting out there, he may turn on Brody. Like, I don't know, just a couple of weird things back to back to say there. But then again, he's concussed. He just had a board broke over his head.
That is
He's
true.
Not in his right mind.
That's right. He even brought the board back out to remind us exactly what took place as we go back to the ring tag team action. Expiration of time, but those battens are nowhere to be found, at least for the last couple of months, it feels like. So instead, David Johnson and Speedy Talltree out here, one of the teams in the expiration match, taking on Ron Sexton and Billy Travis. Okay. Again, no explanation why Travis and Sexton are out here for another match. So maybe, just maybe, they're replacing the PYT. I don't really know. They don't really have an explanation as to why we would see Travis and Sexton wrestle a second matchup.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been the obvious thing to point out. Like now, well, they were out here earlier with their scheduled match against Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto, but apparently Toko and Norvell came out and offered to switch with them, and so now they're taking their match against David Johnson, Speedy Talltree. But instead, it just feels like they're wrestling a second time for no apparent reason.
And again, no mention of the PYT or Billy Travis being part of them.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's just done as best. I mean, if this show is any indication, it just seems like we're just going to drop that and let's just act like it didn't happen. Let's hope nobody asks about it or mentions it again. And boy, what did Speedy Talltree do to end up with the superstar David Johnson as his tag team partner here?
Man, David, it's a whole new level of Johnson this week as he's going to take the beat down. Nice belly-to-belly suplex by Ron Sexton. Ron looking for a superplex in the studio, but Johnson clearly has no idea what the fuck to do as he's picked up in the air to be placed on the top rope. And so Ron, he has to slam Johnson down to the mat, but his trunks, They still say David, so he has that going for him. Billy Travis landing that corner splash, the Vader bomb, if you will. Sexton wants another try at the superplex. And then it takes fucking both guys, Sexton and Billy Travis, to prop David Johnson up onto the top rope, who still has no fucking idea what to do, how to take it, or what they're even trying to do with him. I wrote here in my notes, he looks literally like a fucking jellyfish, his body so limp, just flopping everywhere as they're trying to set him on the top. I've never seen somebody have so much issue sitting a guy on the top rope.
I swear to God, I think Jerry Oski could have set Kareem Muhammad on the top rope easier than
Easily.
Ron Sexton trying to get David Johnson up there. It was a fucking fiasco.
His body was just completely limp. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, something so simple, and both guys having issues doing it. And as they finally get him on that top rope, they run out of time, expiration of time, partially because Johnson had no idea what the fuck to do, and partially because Ron Sexton was determined to hit this fucking superplex. And after the bell, he finally does. And it's a hard drop down for young David, who was absolutely here the drizzling shits.
Yeah, you're talking about the payoff not being worth the build up to get there. My God, what a mess.
And old Speedy Talltree got dressed for no reason. Never tagged in. Match goes 2 minutes or so.
I almost expected Speedy Talltree to just take a dive out to the floor onto nobody. like when Sabu used to just go moonsault the table for no reason after a match. It's like, all right, well, I didn't get dressed for nothing. I'm fixing to dive just into the crowd, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that wraps up the TV this week, guys. They have a show later that evening in Jonesboro on the 25th of May, American Legion Arena. Some of the talent involved, Jerry Lawler, Randy Savage, Tojo and Jarrett, Kareem Muhammad, the PYTs, Jay Youngblood, bringing out all the big stars. Must have had one show that night and Saturday night.
Yeah, you don't usually see everybody on the show like that, but Jonesboro got them all, so it would have been a good night to be in Jonesboro.
Yeah, and they continue to promote Johnny Wilhoit being on a lot of these cards, but he seems to not be in the territory at this point. So I'll move on here to the following day, the following morning, the Jerry Lawler Show, episode 91 now, May the 26th, with special guest Anthony Elmore, a.k.a. Amp Elmore, who is making, apparently, as Lawler says, his third appearance, as he was on the debut show of the Jerry Lawler Show. Wow, that's interesting. And also an episode about 6 months ago. Now, Anthony Elmore, a 5-time world karate and kickboxing champion. So he gets some time to talk, and he cuts a fun promo.
Yeah. Fits right into the wrestling world with the promo, I felt.
Yeah, he got it. He's definitely a good promo. He's like a Muhammad Ali of sorts, maybe not to that level, but he got it. And, he was out here cutting a promo, and it worked for me. It was actually entertaining to some degree anyway, even if I had no clue who the fuck he was. As we continue on, we go to the letter of the week from Jenny in Forest City, Arkansas. She asks, why would Billy Travis let a jerk like Tux Newman influence his career? We then go off to a VTR from the Tuxman and beautiful Billy Travis, who says Jerry Lawler turned him down. All the good guys turned Billy Travis down. They didn't want to help him, but Tux did. Now I ask you, we talked about it. We just watched an entire episode of TV where they tried to separate Tux from Billy, and then the very next day, we get Jerry Lawler. Basically, we got a question here. We got a promo here. Is it because it was already in the can? I mean, what's the deal? Why would you remind everyone that these two are supposed to be together?
Yeah, and if you know you've already got that in the can, then why wouldn't you hold off on this, seemingly cutting ties so abruptly like they did on the live show? It just makes no sense at all.
Very weird things going on, as always, in Memphis, as we go off to the VTR once again of Austin Idol holding the banana, standing in front of a boat. Really odd scenery there, but the Universal Heartthrob is coming this Monday night back to the Mid-South Coliseum. We get a music video of Idol, as well as we hear I Need a Hero, and apparently Idol is going to be our hero this Monday night when he teams with the King. Meanwhile, their opponents are Bruiser Brody, and off in Studio B, he's back. Kareem Muhammad returns as Jerry Lawler, as he says, Jerry Lawler, you're not going to make a fool out of me. Jerry responding that he doesn't have to. Kareem does it himself. So clearly, if it wasn't obvious based on the hour plus that he was helping to run the Memphis TV program the Saturday morning, Jerry Lawler loved it himself because he's bringing Kareem back just a week after that debacle last week.
Yeah. He's clearly, his personality has probably won over Lawler, I'm guessing, maybe
Yeah.
Jarrett too, but definitely Lawler based on everything we're seeing here.
Yeah, Jerry's eating that up. Jerry loves the comedy. As Kareem says, he's determined that he can still do a better job at the King's show than Jerry himself. In fact, Kareem offering to put up $5,000 that he can do a better show than Lawler. And he promises to get 1,000 fan mails asking him to replace the King within a week. And we can change the show then to the Kareem Muhammad Hour. Lawler jokes, I almost got put off the air last week when you were here, and that's kind of what I suggested, but apparently not if the studio's still allowing him to put him on the air, but my goodness.
Yeah, but at least they are at least acknowledging, that's pretty much the only form of acknowledgement that, he was saying things that he shouldn't. So we're at least painting the picture that's, that he's close to getting him kicked off the air, even though they're letting him continue to do all the things that could get him kicked off the air allegedly. So
well, there's only 4 episodes of the Bobby Heenan show. Unfortunately, the Kareem Muhammad Hour never happens. However, I certainly wish it had. As he tells Lawler to put your money where your mouth is, the King finally agreeing. And so next week, the Jerry Lawler Show will become, for 1 week only, the Kareem Muhammad Hour, even though it's 30 minutes.
Which is fun in itself. But half-hour show is the Kareem Muhammad Hour. Well, that's something to look forward to next time around.
Yeah, can't wait to see who his guests are. If he has any locals out there, see if he gives away the certificates this time to the TGI Friday. I don't know. I feel like he might have been the one who put him out of business. He's still been around here in 2025. But yeah, Kareem Muhammad going to host the Jerry Lawler Show next week. Stay tuned, guys, as we roll off now to Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th at the Mid-South Coliseum. 10 big matches for the holiday event. And the undercard going to look like this. J.R. Hogg over at Tracy Smothers. Tommy Gilbert pinning David Haskins. It's Jerry Bryant over Speedy Talltree. And then, well, after 3 curtain jerk matches, we bring all 6 men back out. Oh, this is a cheap way to get out of 10 matches. 6-man tag team action, Gene. Tell me what you think about this. Talltree, Haskins, and Smothers. They all lost their singles matches, but they come back and they correct themselves here, defeating J.R. Hogg, Tommy Gilbert, and Jerry Bryant in a 6-man tag.
I mean, that is classic Southern spots show shit right there.
Yeah.
Where you have 3 singles where the 3 heels go over and you come back in a 6-man and the baby faces go over. Like that was, I mean, so many spot shows in the South. That would be the card, and then you'd have a main event after that. But to do that on your big Memorial Day show where you're plugging 10 matches, like you said, boy, how cheap does that feel?
Well, let's see, what the match is that follows. Oh, well, Billy Travis still teaming with Ron Sexton. So at this point, it does feel like the PYT deal is over with, which is really unfortunate. Travis and Sexton over the Batten twins. Mark and Brad still hanging around. Or Jay Youngblood scoring a pinfall over Lanny Poffo. The Fabulous Ones over the team of Phil Hickerson and the Spoiler. Remember, the Fabs are no longer the tag team champions, but it does make sense now why we saw Hickerson and Morrell on TV.
Yeah, it does, but it just, how weird that we moved the titles off of the Fabs onto the PYTs, but then they're just going to wrestle Hickerson and the Spoiler, and you've got the PYTs wrestling Tojo and Jarrett. I don't know if we'll eventually circle back to that, or we're just going to continue to move away from each other, or what, but that's so odd.
I'm not going to downplay what Phil Hickerson meant, to the business, and certainly for Tennessee wrestling specifically. But to randomly bring him back Saturday here after it feels like years of being MIA. But in Lanny Poffo also, like, he's nowhere near the level of a semi-main guy at this point. But yet we look at this and we're 7 matches into this 10-match show, and I feel like we haven't gotten to a match that's really anywhere beyond the mid-card.
No, not at all. And then, so now we're getting a rematch from Saturday morning's TV show that, in that instance, lasted, 3.5 minutes, but we're mixing in Jackie Fargo and we got some gimmicks going on. So maybe this is going to bring things up to a semi-main event level, at least.
So basically the PYTs, they have Tux Newman in their corner, Coco Ware, now healed. He is healed. And so they are stepping in the ring with Tojo and Jerry Jarrett, who have Jackie Fargo in their corner. They add the stipulation that there will be a strap hanging from the pole, and he who gets the strap can use it off said pole, and thus Tojo and Jerry Jarrett must have gotten the strap because they score the win here, and I'm sure there was a little help from Jackie Fargo getting involved.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if we're going to go through the trouble of putting a poll up, let's use it for 2 matches, not just one, right?
Well, there you go. You called it because, well, we come back, and that's probably why they added the strap stipulation to that matchup because, well, we promoted the coal miner's glove match between the former champion Jerry Oski and the once again Southern champion, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and surprisingly, to my surprise, Jerry Oski pinning the Macho Man. Must have blasted him with that coal miner's glove. Now the title not on the line, Savage retains, but Oski they're attempting to give him some kind of heat back, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, I don't either, because he's come off like a complete asshole on TV, and they look like a goof, but now he's out here beating Randy Savage. And again, we talk about classic Southern wrestling matches. A coal miner's glove match is certainly that. And I remember thinking as a kid, I saw one live at a Continental show in Columbus, Mississippi, between Wendell Cooley and Chris Von Colt. And, just thinking, man, this is such you're not ever going to see this on WCW or WWF. And much to my surprise,
the Cowboy
2 years later, spin the wheel, make the deal, and I'll be damned. We get a main event between Sting and Jake the Snake Roberts on pay-per-view that is a freaking coal miner's glove match. Who'd have thunk it?
Good old Cowboy Bill Watts. You take a wheel and you add steel cage and Texas Death and all these great, awesome, barbed wire, which was never going to happen, but you had all these stipulations, and then coal miner's glove is what it lands on. And he expected that to get over. I just don't know what he was thinking in that instance. But way back here in 1985, they get a gimmick match. They love it here in Memphis. It's Jerry Oski somehow scoring the victory over the Macho Man, which takes us to the main event. And best I can tell, based on the results, it doesn't say DQ. It just says Jerry Lawler and Austin Idol over Bruiser Brody and Kareem Muhammad. The finish, I'm not quite sure at this point. I can't seem to locate the matchup. If it exists, I shall find it. But for the short term, it is Lawler and Idol going over, it would seem.
Well, I would bet everything I own that whoever, whether it was Lawler or Idol who went over, guarantee it was Kareem Muhammad that ate the pin.
Yeah, I don't doubt. I would have loved to have seen Idol get in the ring with Bruiser Brody. That just seems like that's a really interesting situation.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking whenever they set this match up. It was like, man, I wish there was footage of this because, it's always fun to go back and see Stan Hansen beat the shit out of Idol in Memphis. But I would love to see Brody get a hold of him.
Yeah, maybe when Idol cut that promo, he was talking about how much money he was getting paid to do the matchup. You kind of wonder, man, maybe he really did get a nice paycheck to step in there with Bruiser Brody. They needed the next man up as far as the old legends go of the territory, and Austin Idol certainly fit that bill there. As we roll on, though, guys, we're going to see what happens the following day. Louisville Gardens, and of course in Kentucky, May the 28th. It's Billy Travis over Tracy Smothers 1-on-1. Kareem Muhammad defeating David Haskins. What use from Kareem here? It's Jay Youngblood teaming with Speedy Talltree over Tommy Gilbert and Lanny Poffo. Jerry Oski once again over Randy Savage in a coal miner glove match. Tojo and Jerry Jarrett with Jay Youngblood in their corner, not Jackie Fargo. Jackie doesn't do Louisville. So it's Tojo and Jarrett over the PYT once again in a strap on a pole match. And the main event here, 1-on-1 it looks like, and they're doing this a week behind. Jerry Lawler defeating Bruiser Brody by DQ in the no DQ match. Again, no referee in the ring. We saw this in the Coliseum last week. Now it's in Louisville. It's Kareem Muhammad again attacking, drawing the DQ. Lawler defeating Brody here, but this time Jay Youngblood out to make the save. So it looks like we might be setting up a tag match of sorts.
Well, yeah. Well, when you're watching the Evansville version of the show, we're getting local promos interspersed in there, and we're plugging Lawler and Jay Youngblood versus Brody and Kareem Muhammad. But stranger than that to me, we're also advertising a Jerry Jarrett versus Tux Newman loser leaves town match in all those markets. So.
Yeah, we do have that upcoming. I'm looking forward to that. As unfortunately, I'm not looking forward to what's the outcome at the end of the day because of we're going to lose the Macho Man, as I'm sure everybody knows by now. I keep having people ask me, when does he leave Memphis? I feel like he should already be in the WWF. Well, the answer is, unfortunately, it's coming very soon, guys. So stay tuned to that. But right now, it looks like they really overused Jay Youngblood in Louisville because, we don't have Jackie Fargo, so he's cornering Tojo and Jarrett. Youngblood scores a tag team win earlier in the card, and now he's out here to save the king at the end of the night. So he's all over the card here in Kentucky, is Jay Youngblood. So they certainly have some plans for him, at least in some of these towns, as we roll off May the 29th to the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Coliseum, talking about Evansville, Indiana. And the matches on the card, going to see Billy Travis and Speedy Talltree. Kareem Muhammad going one-on-one with David Haskins again. It's Youngblood, this time teaming with Tracy Smothers against the Spoiler and J.R. Hogg. Tennessee Street Fight. The PYT taking on Tojo and Jerry Jarrett. Loser gets 10 lashes. And then once again, the Coal Miner's Glove making the rounds everywhere. The Macho Man going one-on-one with Jerry Oski. And right now we're going to go off to some of the promos I have lined up. Randy Savage stepping in the ring with Oski, that Coal Miner's Glove match. We're also going to hear from Jerry Oski and the tag team of Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto, as well as Tux Newman, talking about the big Tennessee Street Fight.
Okay, Wednesday night, a whole lot of special things coming up right there at the Evansville Coliseum. One of them is that all children under 10 years of age will be admitted for just $3, so an awfully good night to bring the family out there. Let me tell you, one of the bouts is going to be a Coal Miner's Glove match with Randy Savage and Jerry Oski. And Randy, this is that glove that has the big lead slugs taped on the back.
Oh, yeah, I already asked everybody about this type of match because this is my first time in this type of match. Yes, it is. And last night, Lance Russell, I dreamt about this match. Jerry Oski charged me from the other side of the ring, and I brought up a forearm, and that kind of just startled him. I went up the pole, got the glove, knocked him out, and pinned him 1, 2, 3. All right. I want my dream to come true in Evansville, Indiana.
You're going to have an opportunity to find out whether it's a dream or a nightmare. And then the final event is going to be a Tennessee street fight between your PYT, the Pretty Young Things, and Tojo Yamamoto and Jerry Jarrett. Now, that's not all of it. You all go in there with clothes on. Somebody gets them ripped off. The losing team will get 10 lashes in the corner when it's all over with.
What state is it?
This is going to be in Evansville, Indiana.
Indiana. And this is a Tennessee strap match, right?
That's Tennessee.
Where the losing team gets whipped, the clothes get torn off,
right,
and they get strapped.
Right.
Now, if this is Indiana, what has Tennessee got to do with it? I'll tell you, nothing. But you know what happened? Jerry Jarrett went to the promoter in Evansville and demanded that kind of match because he's from Tennessee and he knows all about it. Well, I got news for you, Jerry Jarrett, you punk wrestler, you. We're going to take those whips. We're going to be the winners. We're going to tie you and Tojo up, and then we are going to whip you raw. Right, K.O.?
That's right, baby. Show up, Jarrett and Tojo. We got something for you.
They never had a street fight in their life. They don't know what a street fight is.
You're going to find
raised
out.
Up in the street. And we know how to street fight. I'm always fighting somebody. So come on down, Jarrett and Tojo. Evansville.
Okay, we're standing here with Jerry Oski. He's going to be in that tough Coal Miner's Glove match. Now, Jerry, somebody's going to get that lead slug glove laid up beside their head Wednesday night in Evansville.
That's right, and you know, people, it's not going to be me. You know, it's obvious to me, Randy Savage, and all the people out there, too, that he's got the belt. He just doesn't want the belt. He wants to hurt me, too. Everybody knows it. Well, Randy, don't make that mistake, because I know what the people want me to do. They want that belt back around my waist where it belongs. You know, I felt what it was like to be champion for one whole week, the best feeling of my life so far. And it's only a matter of time, Savage, before it happens again. People, I'm going to give you what you want. I'm going to give you the Southern Heavyweight Champion, and Savage, you better be ready for the fight of your life Wednesday night in Evansville. Don't make the mistake and get me mad, because I will do what I say.
And following that one is going to be that Tennessee street fight. That's where you come in, Jerry, with the clothes on. Somebody's going to get them ripped off, and the loser, on top of losing, gets 10 lashes in the corner after it's over with.
Yes, sir, Lance, and let me explain something. A man walked up to me in Evansville last week, and he said, Jerry, you've been baling too much hay or something. Are you stupid? What are you trying to do? Wrestle these guys. And the thing that I thought about driving all the way back to Nashville is, yeah, I have been pretty stupid. Going in the ring with these guys, and they've got 2 or 3 men outside, and Tojo and I have been trying our best to wrestle them. Well, the thing that I want the PYT is to remember is that Tojo invented all the breaking of the rules that there was. And when we come back to Evansville, we're going to have salt, and we're going to have wooden shoes, and we're going to have whatever it takes to get that pole so that we got the strap in our hand and aren't on the other end of it.
Boy, and I'll tell you, somebody's going to have those clothes ripped off, and then the belt comes on.
Yes, Mr. Lance Russell, this PYT is not going to be a pretty young team.
Wednesday night, Tojo.
All right, so this is apparently going to be Randy Savage's first time in a coal miner's glove match. Well, the first week in a coal miner's glove match anyway. Macho Man battling Jerry Oski, as we heard there. And I love that Tux Newman even picked up on it. How backwards is this company that they are having a Tennessee street fight in Indiana?
Well, even though we're in Evansville, I don't know, just a Indiana street fight just doesn't sound that imposing.
Now we're going to hear about it from Dave Dynasty. I see it coming already.
Oh, God. Yes. Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, Dave. No, it was just funny because I wasn't even paying attention. And so he points that. I go, oh, my God, that's the first time I think Tux has really said anything that resonated with me and made me pop, because he's really been standing in the background for the last month or two now. He's kind of letting the talent shine, and he's just cutting a typical heel promo. He's not doing the gimmick anymore of being from Hollywood or whatever the hell kind of gimmick he was trying to do after. He's just kind of being that generic heel manager. He's doing nothing wrong, but he's not really doing anything to stand out anymore either.
Yeah, you could kind of tell, and we've kind of touched on this, in the previous weeks, that it felt like Tux was starting to check out here, and we'll be seeing very soon that's definitely the case.
Yeah, the old Tuxman cometh, and the Tuxman gonna go with, it would appear, as you talked about some loser leave town matches upcoming involving several people here in the company. And that concludes Evansville. I do not have the results that night there, but a lot of the same. It's peculiar because, meanwhile, while some of these shows, we're a week behind, like Lawler and Brody doing the DQ with the Kareem attack in Louisville, but earlier on that same show, Oski wrestled Savage in the Coal Miners Glove match, which we're doing all around the loop because we're trying to catch up, because we're trying to tell a story to get to the end of the Macho Man.
Yeah, and I guess perhaps maybe that's why Jerry Oski's winning these Coal Miners Glove match, because we know maybe Macho Man's already given his notice here, and so they're like, all right, we'll show you. Go out there and lose to Oski in Coal Miners Glove matches. Is the only logical reason, because I don't think they've got big plans for Oski at this point. I think they're probably starting to see what they've got in him.
Putting in my 2 weeks, literally at this point. The Randy Savage train about to come to the end, but he's still here for now, guys, so stay tuned there as we continue on Thursday in Bardstown, Kentucky. Did I say that right? You're going to tell me no?
No, that's it. There's
Bardstown. I didn't know it was Bardston. I didn't know what it was. May the 30th here. And then Friday night, we got a couple of shows in Tuckerman, Arkansas at the high school. Jerry Lawler, Randy Savage, Kareem Muhammad, Jay Youngblood. Meanwhile, also on the 31st, Friday night, Cleveland, Mississippi, Delta State University, the Fabs, Jerry Oski, Tojo, Jerry, Jarrett, and more as we wrap up another week. And we close out officially the month of May here in 1985.
Yep, heading into June. Going to be halfway through 85. That's taking us a little while to get here, but we're getting there. And like you said, every counting month and week of 85, you've always got this little bit of dread of like, we got to enjoy him while we can, because the Macho Man's, he's going to be gone soon, and I don't know what we're going to do without him here.
Yeah, where do we go from there? Only time will tell, and it won't take too long. And that's going to wrap up this week, guys. Another week in Memphis, and we close out the month of May, which means, like you said, we're heading into the summer, coming into the month of June now. Lots of new talents. Well, I use that term loosely, but there will be random wrestlers coming through the territory to replace Randy Savage, or at least that spot, intermittently. And I can't wait to see what we do to fill some of the voids, as some of these talents will be going away. Not just the Macho Man. Of course, we're going to lose Lanny Poffo, but a few other names pretty much done here too in the weeks to come. So stay tuned, guys. Things are really going to be changing up. A lot of changing of the guard here in the Memphis territory throughout these summer months of 1985. But as we wrap up here, Gene, why don't you remind everybody about everything you got going on right now, man?
Well, coming up next week, we are going, well, I'm not sure exactly when this drops. I guess it's coming out soon, right? This one's going to, usually these things will wait for a while, but I think this one's coming out pretty quick, right?
Yep, so, we're dropping this one.
Yeah, so coming up, we're going to have the season finale of the Retro Wrestling Review for 1993, and we're going to be giving out our year-end awards, where we're going to have me and Josh and Richard, and we're going to be joined by our frequent stand-in co-host, Brian Trammell, and we've got a list of awards. Some of them serious, some of them are just for fun, that each of us is going to go around the table and give our pick for those awards and kind of recap the year of 93 as we prepare to move towards 1991. So we're going to have the finale show coming up this week, and then we're going to be taking a couple of weeks off, but there'll still be a show in the feed. I've got a couple of interviews lined up, a couple of fun things, and then me and Josh will be doing kind of a 1990 recap show to kind of set the table for 1991 when we get started there in July.
All right, so as the 1993 USWA is going to be coming to a close, so is over there on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. We're going to be saying goodbye to 1988 in the World Wrestling Federation. Just another week or so left in the year of 1988. I can't believe it. It really doesn't feel like as long as it has been that my brother talked me into continuing on through 87 into 1988, and I was kind of dreading it based on some of the stuff that takes place in the middle there. It's kind of a down period as they're trying to rebuild, but man, all the stars came in, the Boss Man, Mr. Perfect, things are rolling, the Powers of Pain are there. It's been a fun time, and now we move into, quite frankly, what is a lot of people's favorite year in that Hogan era, which is 1989. I think the stars align just properly. The mega powers are getting ready to explode. So I will not be jumping back. I will be moving forward. We're going to continue on into 1989 and the WWF on the Grenade. But it's fun to know that you're going to head back to 91 USWA, because I'm going to learn some things, because that was something that when the tapes came out, back in the old tape trading days, that I watched it when I got it. But I haven't watched it in maybe 25 years. So that's going to be a hell of a lot of fun for me, especially to see what ties into the Dallas side of things with the talent anyway. And I'm a little curious to see who shows up, because again, I watched the ESPN Dallas USWA as well during that time frame. So it's going to be a fun time for anybody who's interested. You guys can stay tuned. Gene's got a lot going on outside of that, a lot of projects and whatnot, including, well, why don't you tell them about your book? Gene wrote a book, guys. If you haven't heard by now, why don't you tell them a little bit about it and where they can pick it up?
Well, me and Doug Gilbert co-authored a book together about his brother, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. It's entitled Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling. It's available now. You can get it on Amazon.com, BooksAMillion.com, Barnes & Noble, pretty much most reputable booksellers, if you will. And I'm starting to go to some, I'm booked on a big show they got coming up in Tupelo, June 21st, and I'll be selling copies of the book there. And then I'll be returning to EPW Wrestling in Booneville, Mississippi on June the 28th, and I'll be doing some commentary and selling some books there. And I'm talking to some other promoters about doing some more shows and maybe a convention or two to come and sell the books. And Doug's going to be making some appearances where he'll be selling and signing the books. And so a lot of good feedback so far, and we're both really proud of it, and got some other book projects in the works that I'm excited about. So like you said, man, I got a lot of stuff going on, podcasts and book projects and different things, and trying to juggle all that while being in the busy season at my real job, working 50 hours a week. It's a lot, but we're trying to keep it all moving. And I'm like you, I'm excited about 1991. I haven't seen a lot of it in years, so it's going to be kind of new to me. And it's such a mixed bag. I mean, because you got your classic Memphis guys, you got Jerry Lawler and the Gilberts and Jeff Jarrett and Dundee, but then you've got like the Texas guys coming in, Eric Embry, Tom Pritchard, and then you got guys passing through like RVD and Sabu, and you got people like Tagar, Lord of the Volcanoes.
Yes.
So it's all over the place. So it should be a lot of fun. It's going to feel a lot different than 1993 for a variety of reasons. So, man, and then we've got Memphis 85 and all the cool stuff that, Coliseum video casts and everything. So always something fun going on here at WrestleCopia, and it's just cool to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, with everything you have going on, certainly appreciate you squeezing us in and continuing to, put out the Memphis 85 and, of course, the Coliseum videocast and anything else that you can be a part of. And that reminds me, guys, I guess we should encourage everybody to head on over to patreon.com/WrestleCopia. Of course, there's the $5 all-access tier, but it's the VIP Superfan tier. We can get a lot of the great videocasts, including, as Gene said, our Coliseum videocast. We're heading into the 1987 Coliseum videos now. And lots of the fun ones coming up there. Of course, the Pro Wrestling Academy videocast with Dan Ginnity. We're going on to episode 20 at this point in time, moving into the summer of 1977, and right around the corner, the first ever Real World Tag League. Lots of great tag teams coming in for that. So we got a lot going on there. And of course, Monday Warfare, the Battles Within, the video cast now. John Paz joined us recently for episode number 3. Covering the third week. It's coming out of Fall Brawl, going into the In Your House triple header. So all sorts of great stuff going on right now at the VIP Superfan tier. And last, but certainly not least, the Ultimate tier now, where we cover the big ones, Gene, which you were just recently a part of. You played the fill-in for In Your House 3, and it was great to have you there. We had some fun times, and I'm glad you got to be awoken to what was the Bret Hart Jean-Pierre Lafitte hidden gem in that one.
Yeah, man. I was more than happy to step in for that one, but it ended up being a pretty fun show. I enjoyed it and was pleasantly surprised by a couple of matches on that show, but especially that Bret Hart, Jean-Pierre Lafitte. So, as time permits, I hope to tag in and do some more of that kind of thing as we move along, and a few other big ones, so to speak, maybe the big event or wrestling classic or something like that when you get around to them eventually. But there's just so much potentially for you to do there. Besides, you got the pay-per-views that tie into the Monday Night War show or the Monday Warfare show, and then just other requests people have. And I really think people, if you haven't, give that Ultimate tier a chance. There's so many cool things, not just the videos, but the treasure trove of videos that are available on the drive. Just a lot of value, and of course, you don't get just that. You get all the other, everything that's included in the other levels of Patreon. You get it all in that tier. So if you're on the fence, go for it. Give it a try.
And if you're listening to us here, you probably like the Territories, the Regional Rasslin podcast. We have upped our game. It's Regional Rasslin on steroids. It's the Regional Rasslin Unreal show, which is about to make its debut. We've begun recording episodes, and I'm editing them together right now. Basically, we're going to go back and do even more projects from Territory history, but we're doing it on the Patreon platform, and we're doing it as a watch-along, a video watch-along. You guys can watch along with us and enjoy going back in time, and we're not just watching things and having fun like we do with the Coliseum videocast, Gene, but we're also telling the story. We're going to go back just like we do here and talk about what was going on behind the scenes and just kind of letting everything unfold before our eyes. So we've got tons of stuff going on everywhere on the Patreon.
You're a busy man. I don't know how you get it all done, but somehow you pull it all together, and it's a lot. People who don't do this sort of thing just don't understand, but believe me, I do. It's amazing that you're able to corral all the people that you're able to, and get them in front of a microphone, get them in front of a screen to watch all these things. And folks, it's like I say, it's worth your while to be a WrestleCopia patron, and I don't know of anyone who at any tier can say that they don't get more than their money's worth each and every month from WrestleCopia Patreon. So, hey, if you're on the $5 tier, jump up a couple tiers, give it a shot. And if it's something if you for whatever reason you can't afford to do it every month or whatever, just try it out. I promise you're not going to go back.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing, we've talked about, both of us off air, is try to give you more than your money's worth is really the thing, is at the end of the day. Like, I don't just want to go, this is it, and this is the price, and I hope you guys pay for it. I always ask myself, everything I do, I go, is this enough? Is this fair? And, I feel like I've overstepped in gifts versus what the cost is. So hopefully you guys really do enjoy, try any of them out, and hopefully you'll like what you get. And if you don't, obviously there's no subscription. You can always cancel anytime. My heart will not be broken if that's the deal, but I've never had any serious complaints in regards to not getting enough, so
God, no.
Appreciate.
No, if there was ever a problem, it was that you were offering so much for the lower tiers that it became like, well, what can you give for these higher tiers? Because you've given so much for the $10 tier, but you've done it, man. You're definitely over delivering. But like I said, there's, you're not locked into something. Like I said, if you got a budget and the budget allows for you to be an ultimate member this month, But, you know, you got some other things going on next month and you need to dip back, you know, to a different level. Hey, that's fine, man. Do what you can do. But there's great stuff to be had at every level. So give it a shot.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I simply appreciate your support, your financial support to keep this going. It justifies all of the time that I put into this at this point. So, yeah, absolutely. To keep this thing going, we need to put a couple bucks in the piggy bank. And that's pretty much what we're, the attempt to do there with the Patreon is, obviously. But right now, guys, I mean, you get the freebies of the Grenade and the Retro Review and the YouTube version of the Retro Review and Regional Rasslin, and the list goes on and on and on with all the other great podcasts, part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. As we begin to wrap things up, Gene, I got to thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you here as part of episode number 100. And again, guys, in the next few weeks, you're going to hear more from Richard Vicek returning with Chicago. You're going to hear more from Steve Crawford and Memphis 77 as we begin to wrap up that project. Vandal Drummond should be returning before too long with more LA. I know he's having a blast going back in time and discussing that as well. So we've got a lot going on, guys. And Gene, you will continue on here, of course, with the Memphis 85. And Jamie, once he returns from upcoming vacation he has planned, we're going to do more Georgia 82. So stay tuned, guys. Lots more on the way. St. Louis and even more.
All good stuff, man. All good stuff. So, yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a blast. I love doing these shows. And we're just going to keep trucking right along through 85 and see what happens next. Like you said, it's kind of a bummer sometimes when guys like Macho Man and different people are leaving. But then again, when people leave, it means somebody new's coming. And in Memphis, it could be anybody and anything. So here's to a new adventure coming up in June. So let's see what happens.
All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for making this possible. I mean, Regional Rasslin shooting right up there to the ranks. Same number of downloads that the Grenade's doing right now, so you're really excited about that. And we'll be back soon, guys. Hope for another 100. I'm making a 200th milestone here in a couple of years' time. But for now, that's wishful thinking as we continue on with what we got going on. And we'll be back soon. More Regional Rasslin right around the corner.